we're good.
So my presentation about what the pet stores don't always tell you, and this applies to a lot of different things, such as ecological and even animal welfare issues. So animal ownership in America is very widely spread. In this classroom alone, everybody in here has said they've at least owned a pet once in their lifetime, and we're not alone. Down here, 50% of Americans currently own a pet, and this is in metropolitan areas, which is cities. And this is kind of like the pet ownership rates for all of them. I thought this was really interesting because in a city, it's very busy, convoluted. There's not a lot of time for animals. And I thought that even in city areas, people are still owning pets. And so one of the biggest pets, and one of the main animals I'm talking about today, is fish and goldfish. This isn't a goldfish. This is actually my betta fish. His name's Alfredo, named after the Alfredo sauce. And so to the right over there is him in a little fish bowl. I bought that. That was marketed for goldfish, which grow up to 9 inches. He's max size at 2 inches. So, you know, look how big he looks in that bowl. It's like really big. And this is marketed for like a permanent home for a goldfish or betta fish. And this is my fish tank. You know, he's really small in that corner. He's like a little white dot. And this is kind of considered like the optimal home for kind of a betta fish. This is where they like to live, and it's how they're the healthiest. So how does this tie into ecological issues, including goldfish, you may ask? So one of the big things is that goldfish do grow up to 9 inches. And a big issue with goldfish living in little bowls is that they get sick very often in those bowls because they're swimming in their own poop. It's not really a good environment to be in. And so a lot of times they're belly up. People think they're dead, but they can really just be sick. There's a disease called swimming bladder disorder, and it causes their swim bladder, which is an organ we don't have that keeps them afloat, that can be out of whack. So because they look dead, people throw them in like rivers or flush them down the toilet. And that can be really bad environmentally because in one lake in particular, Lake Tahoe, there's a bunch of wild goldfish. And so the wild goldfish are on the right. They get up to 15 inches compared to the 9 inches in captivity. This is a big issue because these guys are like the pigs of water. They don't stop eating. They eat everything they see. And they uproot all the plants, which can cause an algae bloom in the lake. And they eat all the fish eggs and baby fish of the other fish. So they're kind of like the alpha predator of a lake. We're goldfish. They eat everything, and then they uproot the lake, and it kind of just destroys the lake in general. So this is really bad. And for me, I think the biggest kind of solution for this issue is kind of not throwing your fish in the lake and kind of telling people that. A lot of people don't know how to properly dispose of a dead fish. You know, you always hear that you flush them down the toilet to dispose of them, but the best way is actually just a landfill, a trash bag, because there's always such a small chance that your 2-inch goldfish can end up being a 15-inch goldfish in the wild, which can destroy an entire lake ecosystem. And so goldfish, the reason I'm talking about goldfish is both because I'm obsessed with fish, and second because they're the most commonly sold animal in America. More people have fish than any other animal, but the second most is dogs. Now this is a little picture. You can't see the bottom part, but it says fight abuse, not dogs. This speaks a little bit more personally to me because when I was at a technical school in Brandywine for veterinary studies, we had a bait dog. Her name was Lopsy because she had a lopsided ear from dog fighting because she was a bait dog. And so the bait dog is the dog that gets the 2 aggressive dogs all riled up. And so she got scars from that, and she was pregnant at the time. So they arrested the guy. They brought the dog over to here so we can deliver her puppy safely. And so it's a good story. You know, she got adopted, her puppies got adopted, the guy got arrested. Very heartwarming. But but the biggest thing that kind of spoke to me personally was that this wasn't her first litter. She had a bunch of litters beforehand, and they were being sold to pet stores everywhere. So you could be buying a puppy from a pet store, and that could be used from a dog that was in a dog fighting ring, and that's probably not a good place to be buying your dog from. And so we're going to talk about puppy mills, which is another very drastic, like, operation for, like, it's kind of like think of like a factory mill. You know, you're making all these products, but instead of products, they're live animals, they're dogs. You know, the welfare of these guys aren't really taken into account. In the back, there's a lot of brown stuff and this kind of, I mean, I'm sure you can imagine what it is, bodily fluids. And underneath of it are actually more dogs, and this is a wire grating. And so this wire grating actually, like, infects the paws of the dogs, because there's usually jags in it, and like it cuts them and it gets infected from all the bodily fluids. And there's dogs underneath, and so when they use their bodily function, it falls on top of those, and so they get sick. And so a big issue from buying puppies from a puppy mill is illness, and then the second one is genetic diseases, because when you're supposed to buy a dog from, say, a breeder, you usually have like the family tree line, so you know that this dog doesn't have some type of weird heart disease or cancer that'll kill it. But you know, that's not, they don't know the family lineage of these dogs. A lot of genetic deaths, like if you buy a puppy, it just dies. I mean, it speaks for itself, I think. Temperament issues and other. And so the Humane Society is responsible for this. And they also did two other things. For out of 100, because in 2016 they busted 100 operations for puppy mills, and 12 of those were here in Pennsylvania, it's making us the second most common states for puppy mills. And 7 of those were in Lancaster, or Lancaster, did I ever say? Which is really close. And so a lot of pet stores even are like near here, get their puppies from Lancaster, because it's such a big kind of flow of dogs they can get pretty easily. And so, and it's really hard to tell if the dog you're getting from a pet store is from a puppy mill or not, because they did another experiment. They asked 27 pet stores about where they got their dogs from. 21 of them would not provide any additional information about where they got their puppies from. 6 of them said they got them from breeders but no other paperwork, and only 1 has said they got it from puppy mills. So if you don't know, if they're not going to tell you where the dog came from, why should you buy it from them? You know, it could come from something like that, and if you buy it from, say it on Craigslist or online somewhere from a breeder, you know, it could be a dog from a fight dog they're selling just to make an extra couple bucks on the side. So that's kind of the conclusion. It's a nice little fish tank, but goldfish is kind of where goldfish should be living in, the big tank. But I hope this helps kind of get the point across that additional research is really important for buying and taking care of animals, because you know, there's a lot of negative consequences to it. Because ecologically, you know, it doesn't seem like a goldfish could destroy a lake ecosystem, but they can. And that's something that, in like dog welfare issues, I think all these just kind of tie into each other, and I think that with greater education, just a little bit can go a long way when it comes to that. And I think there'll be more happy animals and more happy pet owners, and I couldn't ask for a better life.
Good.